Evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to tonight's varsity basketball contest live from Riverdale High School as your Riverdale Raiders take on the division rival Gulf Coast Sharks. Raiders moving from right to left across your computer screen as they will win the opening face-off. They now cruise the ball into the attacking end. Shot from Dean Wilson is going to brush wide. Sharks running from left to right across your computer screen as we are underway for your first quarter of play. This is Nick Rush giving you the play-by-play action live on the Riverdale Raiders Broadcast Network. Here are the Sharks in the offensive end. Here's a dish over to number 35, Jack Craig for the Sharks, and that's going to brush wide. Here's Jacob Tracy down the middle, throws it to the outside to Dean Wilson. Wilson in the paint, tries to take the jumper, and that is a money ball. The Raiders draw first blood. It's now 2-0. Just about a minute into your first quarter of play. Raiders going to overturn the ball again. Tracy deep down the middle, trying to reach out to Jaquez Dickerson, and that is going to be pickpocketed away. Here are the Sharks up at the right corner. It's Alvin Delve going for the cross feed. It's barely kept in by the Raiders off of a wild pass. Deep in the paint, finally, you're going to have the towering David Johnston get that one out of the zone for Riverdale. The Raiders are in their home white uniforms. Garnet red script numbers on the back. White pants with the garnet and gold stripe running down the sides. Meanwhile, the Sharks are in their road black uniforms. White stripe off to the sides and black shorts. Here's a missed shot by the Raiders. Coming to the opposite end of the court is Noah Evans, and we'll have a stoppage of play with 6:15 left to go, and your first. Raiders up 2-0 here. Just underway here in this division rival contest. Really interesting game we have here. These two teams played each other back on December 11th, 2015. The Sharks defeated the Raiders by a 59-48 score on the campus of Gulf Coast High School down in Naples. This is the second of two meetings between these two teams. So let's see if the Raiders can get some revenge going here and defeat the Sharks for the last meeting between these two teams. Both teams a part of Class 7A District 11. Ball is spiked up in the air. It's down the middle to Dean Wilson. He'll throw it down low to Jaquez Dickerson. Ball down on the floor, and it's going to roll out of play. And that's going to go off of a Raider player, so the Sharks have the ball overturned here. Here's Noah Evans scooping it over to Spencer Davis. Ball is going to bounce on the ground. Raiders scoop it up for another turnover. As always, you have Jacob Tracy leading this one into the offensive zone. Down low, it's Jacob Tracy trying to go for the three off to the right corner, and that's going to bounce off the rim. Sharks already on the opposite end of the court, and there's going to be a foul. That was Daniel Malivert in there. Took a little bit of a hard hit as he went down, and the Raiders are going to get out of that foul with control of the ball. So let's see how this goes. Right now, Raiders are still up 2-0 with 5:08 to go in your first. It's been a very low-scoring action. Defenses have taken over thus far in this contest. Deep in the paint. Shot bounces too low off the hands of Nathan Lunsford. And there's going to be a violation here going against the Raider defense, and there's going to be a pair of free throw shots on the way from Nathan Lunsford as he steps up at the line. That first shot is going to bounce right into the net off of the backboards, and the Sharks are now on the board. It's 2-1 with 4:58 left to go in quarter number one. Lunsford is a 6'2" senior for Gulf Coast High School. He's playing as a guard on the team, and he goes 2 for 2, tying up the ball game between the Raiders and the Sharks. Daniel Maliver with the cross feed to Tracy. Up the middle to Dickerson. Johnston to Wilson, and that's going to be too forced. Nice display of passing here for the Riverdale Raiders. They're showing some great energy earlier on in this contest, and the layup comes through by Jacob Tracy. Dominic Taylor bringing it down the far side. Cross feed to, that was Jack Craig on the play, and this shot's not even going to reach the net. Raiders overturn it once again, and Jacob Tracy will contribute with 2 more points. Raiders now up by 4. The Sharks seem to be struggling here on the offense. They seem a little rusty out on the court to begin this ball game. Ball is going to be spiked out of the play, and let's see who's going to get this ball. It went off of a Raider player from the looks of it. It was a big scramble for the ball up along the right corner there. So Sharks have it. Jack Craig is going to run it right up the middle, scoops it outside at the left point with an attempt from Alvin Delve, and that is going to go wide. Tracy off to the right side, throws it to the corner where Dean Wilson is standing off to the far side, and that's going to go out to play up along the Gulf Coast Sharks benches, which is off to the left side of my broadcast position. Off to the right side is where the Raiders will be sitting on the bench. 3-point shot is not going to reach the back of the net from Spencer Davis. 6-2 is your score. Riverdale on top of Gulf Coast. 3:26 remaining in your first. Jacob Tracy, left corner, reaches his way in, back outside. Gulf Coast starting to pressure their defense a little more, or put some more pressure on with the defense, I should say. Wilson, deep in there, shot is going to roll wide off the hands of Miguel Vieira. Tracy, opposite end to Wilson, and there's your 3. There's Dean Wilson there putting 3 on the board from the left corner off of a nice pass from Tracy. And now here's going to be it's going to be a timeout here for the Sharks. That's their first of the contest. 2:47 left to go in the first, and it's 9-2 in the favor of the Riverdale Raiders. Let's talk about how these two teams have played out thus far in the season. I mentioned previously at the start of this game, Sharks defeated the Raiders in their last meeting, 59-48, back on December 11th. Let's talk about Class 7A District 11 and how the 3 teams in the district have played out. You have the Northport Bobcats on top, and at number 1 spot, they are 9-9 in the regular season, 4-0 when playing against district rivals, meaning they defeated both Gulf Coast and Riverdale twice. The Sharks are second, 9-9 is their overall record, tied up with the Bobcats. Anyhow, in the division matchups, they're 1-2. Riverdale Raiders on the bottom, 7-9 is their overall record, and they are 0-3 when playing against their divisional foes. Losing to Northport twice and the Gulf Coast Sharks once, and there's a nice long distance shot getting right through the net by Spencer Davis. And that pass from Dante Quintel is going to be picked right off. Dante falls on his back there as Noah Evans was cruising in for the shot. And that's going to be a foul against Quintella and the Raiders defense as Dante picked up a block there according to the officials. He just fell right on his back. The Sharks relaying the ball around the point. Going for it all is Nathan Lunsford, and he cannot convert. Tracy up the gut, stops at the midpoint, looks around to the left key. He's going to find Dean Wilson. Opposite end to Tracy once again. Tracy flings it back over to Wilson, and that's going to be picked away. Nice execution there by Noah Evans. Deep down on the left corner from Nathan Lunsford to Evans. Evans down the middle, hitting the lane. His shot's going to roll back down on the court. 1:35 to go in quarter number 1, 9-5. Raiders lead over the Gulf Coast Sharks. Down the middle, it's Jaquez Dickerson fighting for the ball, and he will scoop it through, no problem. Gulf Coast, they're already on the opposite end of the court here. Very fast-paced action, as you can imagine. And now, it looks like Jacob Tracy's going to pick up a foul here as he ran right into Spencer Davis, who is carrying the ball inside from the left key. He'll throw it back into play to Lunsford. Lunsford shares it over to Davis. Davis, right side. There's a shot from Noah Evans, trying to go for 3, and he cannot capitalize on the attempt. Now down to less than a minute to go. So far, there are 3 fouls for the Raiders in your first quarter, and only 1 for Gulf Coast. Here's Dante Quintella, sending the ball all the way over to the left key where Jacob Tracy is standing. He slowly backs his way up towards center court, gives it to Wilson. Wilson gets up in the air, and his shot is going to be wide. And that's a foul going against the Sharks. You're going to have Dean Wilson coming up to the line for 2 free shots. Shot number 1, nothing but net. David Johnston coming into the game. He's being exchanged out as Jaquez Dickerson is going to head back to the bench. Shot number 2 is going to be a money ball. And 2 for 2 is Dean Wilson on the free throw attempts here in the first quarter of play. 30 seconds to go. Up against the far side, Sharks have the ball. Deep in the paint. They're struggling, and the pass is going to be picked away. Dante Quintella leading the ball down the field this time. Or the court, I should say. Right corner, it's Miguel Vieira. Vieira finds a break, tries to send it outside to Dante Quintella, and there's going to be a stop with 3.7. Sharks now in control. They'll toss it back in. It's Lunsford sending it in from the Sharks' own zone. Can they get final points on the board? Buzzer beater on the way, and that's too short. No good. And just like that, the Riverdale Raiders lead over the Gulf Coast Sharks. They have had an outstanding opening quarter of play. 13-5 is your score. We'll take a quick break and come back with more Riverdale Raiders boys varsity basketball action on the Riverdale Raiders Broadcast Network. We are back at the Raider Rock Gym on the campus of Riverdale High School in Fort Myers, Florida, for quarter number 2 of boys varsity basketball action as the Riverdale Raiders lead over the Gulf Coast Sharks by a 13-5 score. Raiders are going to pick away the ball. Jacob Tracy with the dunk. Feeding it in off the right hand. That puts the Raiders up now by 10 points. Riverdale moving from right to left across to our computer screen now for the new quarter of play. Gulf Coast from left to right. It's down the middle. Now deep in the point there to Lunsford, who tried to feed it to the left corner, and that ball is going to go out of play. Evans will continue the action from the midpoint. Ball is going to be spiked up in the air. Raiders have it again. They are capitalizing off of the mistakes and struggles of the Sharks team. It's been a series of miscues for them thus far in your ball game. Tracy, left corner. Wilson for the 3. 7 minutes left to go in your second quarter and first half of play. 18-5 is your score as the Raiders lead over the Sharks, and this crowd, you can hear them in the background, they are going nuts. It is a very nice crowd on hand at the Raider Rock Gym as well. If you'd ever like to come out to any of our games, tickets are $4. Jaquez Dickerson lobs it into the net, no problem. And there's timeout number 2 coming in for the Sharks. Fans are happy with what they see. They're giving their Raider basketball team a round of applause as they have just been dominating here. And half number one, 20-5 is now your score with 6:37 left to go on the clock. Let's talk about the two teams and their coaches. As always, we have for the Riverdale Raiders, Coach Damon Jones in his second year of action, coaching the Riverdale Raiders varsity basketball team. Meanwhile, for the Gulf Coast Sharks, you have Philip Johnson, who is in his fourth year of coaching with the Sharks of Gulf Coast High School, a public institution out of Naples, Florida. So they had quite the road trip to get here today to Riverdale High School in Fort Myers, Florida. Your timeout has expired, and both teams now making their way back out onto the court. We put the game back into action here with the Sharks in possession of the ball. Up the gut, it's Alvin Dell. Out to the right side, it's Spencer Davis trying to charge his way into the paint. And there's a foul going against Riverdale. The Sharks tossing it back in from behind the attacking net. Right corner, it's Noah Evans. Waits it out, he's trying to look past his defenseman there, which is Daniel Malivert. Here's Evans trying to fire it deep, and Jaquez Dickerson is going to say, no thank you, sends it to Wilson, and that's going to skip wide. Sharks to the offensive end, and it's laid through by Davis. Here's Jacob Tracy, just walking his way out the center. Lobs it off of his right hand over to Malivert. Wilson trying to bring it deeper in there with, well, there's a shot coming in. Well, David Johnston, that's who he was trying to find. Johnston was right in the paint, right underneath the basket, but he was in double coverage there by some Shark defensemen. It's barely kept in by the Raiders. Malivert, high up at the key, down low to Dickerson, and he can't get the ball out of his hands on time, but it's going to be spiked away by a Sharks defenseman. I believe that was Lucas Luft. Actually, that's going to be a foul going against the Sharks. And coming up to the line is Jaquez Dickerson. His opening shot is going to be good. 21-7, Raiders now up. 5:19 to go in your second quarter. And the next one is going to bounce its way off of the rim. And let's wait for the calling here. It's going to be another foul against the Sharks. Raiders are going to clear it back into play from behind the attacking net. Tracy flies it in the air, and that's going to go out of play. Here's Evans clearing his way down the court. Right side, the give and go to Spencer Davis. To Delve, up the gut, takes a shot. Unlucky bouncer down on the court. It's open. Dean Wilson's going to be the retriever, and coming down on the floor is David Johnston, taking a little bit of a hard hit there. It took him a second, and Nathan Lunsford is going to help him back up, and Lunsford is throwing this one in from the sidelines. He'll share it with Evans. Down the middle, and left side wing. High up, right side at the key, and Davis's shot is going to bounce off the backboards. Incomplete. Now here's Dean Wilson off on the right corner, and there's going to be a timeout here against the Raiders. That's their first of the opening half. So we'll have another brief break. Meanwhile, we'll take a quick break ourselves here on the Riverdale Raiders Broadcast Network. It's 21-7, your score. Raiders on top with 4:36 left to go in the second. We are back after a Riverdale Raiders timeout. It was their first of your opening half of play in your second quarter. There's 4:29 left. Raiders up 21-7 over the Sharks of Gulf Coast High School. Jacob Tracy loses control of the ball, quickly regains himself there, and bringing it deep down is going to be Dean Wilson. Back up top again. Malivert shares it over to Wilson, and here's going to be a foul against the Sharks. So Raiders are going to throw this one back in. It's Wilson throwing the ball into play from behind the Raiders attacking net. Fast-paced action between these two division rivals, and really, what did you expect? These two teams have been zipping up and down the court all night long here, so this has been one fun game to call. There's a layup off the right hand and in from Lucas Luft. And Tracy is going to carry it back in for the Raiders. Curving his way into the paint. Shot is going to spin its way around the rim, and it's not going to head into the net. Here's a brief attack by the Gulf Coast Sharks. It's going to be interrupted by Jacob Tracy once again. This Raider defense tonight, they sure do know how to just get their hands on that ball when they're on the defense. The Sharks have just been sloppy with their passes and their offensive opportunities. Gulf Coast again, it's picked away. And the pass is going to be way outside. It was Daniel Malivert trying to send it to the other side of the court, where Dean Wilson was standing up along the near side, and it was just way off to the left side of Wilson. And you could see the frustration on his face after that whole ordeal. Davis making his way over the free throw line, taking a shot, and that's going to be wide left of the net. There's Jacob Tracy once again cruising down the court. He has to be tired. I cannot tell you how many times in each game he's bringing it into the zone for the Raiders. Dean Wilson can't make the shot. Vieira is going to send it to the left corner. Down the middle to Tracy, lobs it up and puts it through. 23-9 is the Raiders score as they are on top. 2:27 to go in your first half of play. Riverdale hoping to have a good ending here to the first half, hoping to end halftime on a high note. And there's a successful jumper coming in from Alvin Delve. Raiders doing whatever they can to extend their lead and just regain some momentum here. Deep in the paint, it's going to be Dickerson. His shot isn't tall enough to reach the rim. Here's Tracy. Off to the left side, trying to wave some of his men around. His short pass is going to be deflected out of the way by Luft. And the Raiders are going to have another chance here, throwing it in. Players scramble around a bit, but it's going to be Malivert looking for his man open. You see Tracy trying to slide his way in there, but he's going to give it to Wilson. Wilson tosses it up, and that's not going to make it in the net. Scramble for the ball. Gulf Coast regains possession. Long distance shot from Lunsford is going to be too forced. And here's Tracy again. 1:17 left to go in half number one. Wilson waving the ball around in his arms. Give and go to Tracy. Tripping over a defenseman. He picks up the 2 points plus the foul. So you're going to have Jacob Tracy hoping to go for the 3-point play on this next shot. Tracy up on the line, crouches down, puts it up in the air, and it is up and in. 26-11 now, Riverdale on top. Here are the Sharks on the offense, 57 seconds left. They're going to have to take a look at that timer there. and move a little urgent. Right now, it's just a frenzy of passing in the offensive zone. 47 seconds left to be played in quarter number 2. Raiders up by a comfortable 15-point lead, but they cannot just sit back here. They need to do whatever they can to just keep things going and keep momentum high. That ball came close to the sidelines, and the Raiders are going to have that overturned into their favor. As Lunsford was fighting to keep the ball in play, but his foot stepped out when the ball was in his hands. Half a minute to be played. Jacob Tracy curving his way on the court. He's trying to juke out his opponent here, Nathan Lunsford. Side-to-side pass to Dean Wilson. 10 seconds left. 8 seconds. Tracy rushing his way in. Shot is going to wobble out. 3 seconds left. Sharks on the attack. Shot is good. Nathan Lunsford being credited with the pair that time, with exactly 2 seconds to be played, plus the foul. So Lunsford trying to pick up a 3-point play of his own, with an extra shot on the way. 5 fouls from each team here in your first half. Lunsford sinks the shot, 26-14. You have a last-second shot coming in from Tracy. It's going to not be anywhere close, but the Raiders have to be satisfied with how they've been playing in half number 1. 26-14 is your score as we head to halftime. So we'll take a quick break, and we are going to come back for your third quarter and second half of play right after this on the Riverdale Raiders broadcast network. 26-14 once again is your score. Raiders dominating on top. We'll be right back right after this. We are back and ready to go for your third quarter and second half of play in this boys varsity basketball competition between the Riverdale Raiders and the Gulf Coast Sharks. Live at the Raider Rock Gym on the campus of Riverdale High School. The Raiders lead over the Sharks by a 26-14 score. And we have a foul right off the bat from the Sharks defense as Jacob Tracy steps up to the line. 1 for 1 today on free throws. Now goes 2 for 2 with that successful shot. Tracy is a 6'5" sophomore on this team. Second shot is going to bounce away. Sharks now have possession. Off to the right corner, it's Lunsford. Lunsford takes a shot, sails over the net, but will not go in. Tracy now on the opposite side of the court. Sends it down left corner to Dean Wilson. Shot bounces off the rim and deflects back down. And there's a stop. Half a minute into your third quarter of play. Raiders up 27-14. Here's Noah Evans down the center of the court, sending it off to his right side to Lunsford. Lunsford slides it down low, and that's going to be stolen by the Raiders. 2-on-1 into the zone. Tracy puts up the pair. Gulf Coast storming down the court. Spencer Davis up along the left corner. Davis sends it back up the center for Evans, and he is going to tumble there over Daniel Maliver, and there's a foul. It's going to be a foul against the Raiders, as Maliver stood right in the path of the shooter there, falling right on his back. So the Sharks continue their offensive drive here. Shot's going to nearly bounce onto the sidelines. They somehow keep it in play. Three-pointer is going to have an odd bounce, and Lunsford's not going to make it that time around. They zip it down the court to David Johnston. He gets a finger on it before it goes out of play. So the Sharks now have the ball. They'll start things off with Lunsford here. He's going to fly it over to Evans on the right key. Standing right on the free throw line is Alvin Delve. And there's another whistle with 6:25 left to go in your third. Riverdale up by 15 points. Sharks hurling this one back in. From behind the offensive net, it's Evans receiving the ball. Sends it through off of one hand. A nice jumper there. And just forced it right through it. No issues whatsoever. Wilson, left corner. And that's going to be just short. That ball is going to tumble its way into the front row of the stands. And the fans are going to hand it over to the referee. And the Sharks now have control of the ball. It's Evans. Long curl over to Davis. Davis cross court to Evans. Evans trying to run his way in off from the right key. And there's the foul. It's going to be an offensive foul going against the Sharks. So Jaquez Dickerson is going to fling it over there to Jacob Tracy off to the far side. Trying to back his way past Lunsford. Now down the middle, it's Jaquez Dickerson. Spins around, shot, and it's in. Fans liking what they see here. The Raiders, all first half, they've had some momentum going. Doing some great performances on the defense. And they're keeping it going here. Jacob Tracy steals away the ball. He tried to leap up and sink the ball in, but there's going to be a foul. And Jacob Tracy steps up to the line again. Or pardon me, that's going to be tossed back in by Dean Wilson. He's going to let that one zip all the way to center court where Jaquez Dickerson was standing. It's now over to Tracy. Puts the hand into the basket, and it's 33-16, Raiders on top. And the big thing that Riverdale is doing is that they're not giving the Sharks time to breathe. They just keep converting over and over and over on the defense. And that's going to be a big key in this game. There's Jaquez Dickerson putting up another pair of points. If you're a Riverdale fan, no doubt about it, you are enjoying what you see if you're here at the Raider Rock Gym. These fans are fired up. A Let's Go Raiders chant bouncing all around the rolls here at the Raider Rock Gym as Alvin Delve is going to put in a layup. Jacob Tracy putting matters into his own hands here as he's going to storm his way past Lunsford. And a wild pass down low on the left corner is going to be way out of play over the head of Jaquez Dickerson. A little bit of confusion here as Dean Wilson is going to bounce it over right to a Sharks defenseman. That was very bizarre. Daniel Malavert's going to lob it back into action, and you hear the fans with the round of applause. That truly was something. Daniel Malavert leaping out of the play, keeping his feet off the ground, and keeping that ball back safe. And now Dante Quintella doing whatever he can to keep his hands on the ball, and there's a foul. This time you're going to have Malavert handing this one back in from behind the net. Back out down the middle to Dean Wilson. Wilson give and go to Malavert. Right key. Bouncing away past the defenseman. It's Wilson to Johnston. Incomplete pass. And there is a violation going against the Raiders with an offensive foul. There's 4 fouls apiece here for both of these teams in your second half of play. 3:52 to play in your third quarter, 35-18. Raiders are dominating this game. All contest long. Beautiful dive on the ball there by, well, a little bit of confusion there. It was Daniel Malavert who tossed on the ball. Originally, he made a dive for the ball, and then when it was open, he just hopped right on top of it. And now the Sharks have the ball, and there's a three-pointer provided by Evans. Dante Quintella. Quintella handing it over to Vieira, and Vieira lunges the ball out into the stands. Up against the far side. It's going to be Wilson keeping this game going as he throws it back in. David Johnston, oh, the ball went right out of his hands. And rushing down the court is Nathan Lunsford. There's a foul, and it goes against the Sharks. Well, so much can happen in just a few minutes to play there. Let me tell you this, Nathan Lunsford, he has been on the Raiders offense this entire time. He's really put pressure on all of the Riverdale ball players today. And that time he just took the ball right out of the hands of David Johnston. Of course, this wasn't the scenario, but it just seemed like Johnston just handed off right to him. But luckily for the Raiders, the Sharks picked up an offensive foul and the possession changed. So no harm came out of that from Nathan Lunsford as he had his hands on the ball. Here are the Sharks, high up at the key, now down low in the paint. Shot is going to take a crazy redirection there. As Caden Frost is going to miss that shot. Tracy jogging down the court. Quick developing play here. Wilson, Tracy, back outside to Vieira, going for it all, and that is going to bounce off the right side of the net. Here's Evans in control of the ball. Now Cameron Delaney. Here's a cross feed from Davis to Evans, and that's going to be incomplete as the ball rolls out of the playing court. This time you have Miguel Vieira sending the ball back into play as he hurls it over to Jacob Tracy, who is standing right in front of the Gulf Coast benches. Here's a long distance shot that's going to tip wide. Now the Sharks down the opposite end. Boy, Caden Frost had some good airtime there, but couldn't seal the deal. Tracy low to Vieira, and Vieira is going to make the money. 37-21 is your score. Raiders in the lead. 1:52 to go in your third quarter, and there's a shot as the whistle is going to be blown. This is going to be some free throws on the way to, I believe that's Cameron Delaney. And it will be Delaney as he bounces the ball, sends it up, and off the rim it goes. Can he make up for it on the next shot? The answer is yes. Vieira tried to throw it in there to Tracy up along the far corner, and that ball just went way out of play off the hand of a Sharks player. Tracy's going to have to find that ball. It's tipped again, but the Raiders quickly hop back on it. Down the middle to Wilson, and that is going to fail. Wilson a little frustrated there at himself by that play. And right now I think Coach Jones, he's a little upset there. I think he was expecting a defensive... He was looking for a defensive foul there against the Sharks, but he's not going to get it as he protests and he calls this case. He's not going to get what he wants as the Sharks are back in business. Down the center, and that ball is going to be outside of the playing court. Cameron Delaney. Center key to Spencer Davis. Now left corner to Caden Frost. Sharks relaying around the key. Caden Frost putting it in the air, and that's another one that's going to miss. Caden Frost, he's had a few rough bounces in this third quarter of play. He's getting some nice opportunities, but he just can't land any of them in the net. Dean Wilson going for the three, and it's right in and right out. That was a very bizarre play, and now here's Noah Evans. He's going to fake out Jacob Tracy. Shot's going to miss anyways, and there's going to be some physicality involved as a whistle is blown. There's going to be a timeout called here. And this is going to go to Gulf Coast. They need a few moments to really just relax and chart a little bit of a game plan. There has not been a single time in this game where Gulf Coast have looked like they've dominated, and they haven't even had the lead at one point in this game. So very interesting to see the Raiders spring back and show some domination here after that last meeting between these two teams. Keep in mind, on December 11th, the Sharks beat the Raiders by 59-48 at Gulf Coast High School. So you would think Gulf Coast would come in hoping to shut out the Raiders this season. I'm sure they're trying as hard as they can, but things have just not went their way tonight. And the Raiders at this point, they may have the lead, 37-22 at the moment with 1:06 left in the third, but they cannot fall asleep. They cannot just take it easy on the Sharks, because they are a team that is reliable of making a comeback, no doubt about it. They have plenty of time to do so as well. 1 minute to play in your third. Here's Jacob Tracy. He's just throwing the ball up overhead. He can't find the net. Down the opposite end, three on the way, and that will be a no. Here's Dante Quintella with the ball. He nearly had a breakaway going there, but Caden Frost is going to put his hands on Quintella there for the stop. It's going to be Miguel Vieira throwing this one in right in front of the scorer's table, being guarded by Spencer Davis. He's going to ship it off over to Wilson, and he makes 2 points on that scoreboard. It's Rashid Lowe with the ball for the Gulf Coast Sharks, and there's another turnover in the favor of your Riverdale Raiders. 30 seconds left in your third quarter. Vieira is going to send it up to Deshaun Lane. Lane with a crazy pass, and that's going to be stopped. It looks like Daniel Malivert there was blocked down. Another foul. That's actually going to go against the Raiders. Caden Frost is now going to handle the ball for Gulf Coast High School, doing whatever they can to put some points on the board before we head to the end of your third quarter of play, doing whatever they can to stop the bleeding, if you will, because this has just been one rough game for them. Here's a holding foul going against the Raiders, and coming up to the line is Caden Frost. Frost sends it into play and finds the hoop. The next one is going to be in as well. Vieira sends it to Malivert. Malivert's going to take a shove as he was in double coverage, and let's wait a minute here for the call. 11.9 left in your third. It's going to be a foul against the Raiders, so the Sharks have the ball. Fans not very happy right now at that call by the official. Now 8.3 left, and there's another foul. It's going to be the Raiders throwing it back in once again. That time the ball went into the stands. And now there's going to be a timeout against Raiders. And right now Coach Jones is a little fired up at his team. Not very happy with how they're playing right now. There's 8.3 left in your third, so we'll stay on here and we'll tell you this. Like I said, Raiders just need to keep playing good basketball. It's as simple as that. They cannot fall asleep on the Gulf Coast team. It's as simple as that. It doesn't matter who you're playing, because the great thing about the game of basketball is that it's so fast-paced, and the changes of momentum can really turn on a dime. So it's not too late just yet for Gulf Coast to get back into it and dominate if they want. And Coach Damon Jones for the Raiders wants to make sure that that scenario doesn't happen. He wants his team to stay back in charge. Vieira outside to Wilson, and now Malivert getting some airtime. His shot is going to be a no. It's lobbed in the air. That's way outside for Spencer Davis taking the midcourt shot. And at the end of your third quarter of play, your score is 39-24 in the favor of the Riverdale Raiders. We'll take a quick break, and we are going to be in your fourth quarter of play right after a break. Once again, Raiders on top, 39-24. Fourth quarter we go right after this on the Riverdale Raiders Broadcast Network. We are back on the Riverdale Raiders Broadcast Network, and we are ready for your fourth quarter of play as the Raiders are dominating over the Gulf Coast Sharks by a 39-24 score. And we are underway for your fourth and final 8-minute quarter of play. There's a layup coming on the way from Jaquez Dickerson. Raiders starting business up early, and here's Jacob Tracy stealing the ball away. Layup is going to be finished off by Jaquez Dickerson. That time Jacob Tracy needed a little bit of help. He tried to go for the layup, but he was way too far outside. The only thing he could really do is try to take a shot at the net and hope good things could happen, but Jaquez Dickerson is right up behind him, and he's able to add the insurance. Great teamwork by the Raiders all throughout this ball game. Tracy's ready to go, carrying the ball up on the right side, and he loses control while he's dribbling. He was just so caught up there on the defense and where his team was on the court. And accidents happen. It's as simple as that. It doesn't matter how powerful you are out there on the court. Here's Rashid Lowe with the ball, up on the left key. Trying to get past Jacob Tracy here. He's going to send it flying through the net for two. Tracy zips it to Malivert, and that ball is going to go crazy. Sharks have control, and that's another pair of points for Cameron Delaney that time, contributing for the Sharks. And now 6:46 is left to go in your regulation. 43-26 Raiders on top of the Sharks here. Here's David Johnston carrying the ball out of their own zone for the Raiders. Surprising drop pass here for Dickerson. Give and go to Tracy. Tracy up on the right side, and that ball is going to be dribbled away. Raiders are losing a lot of power here, giving up a lot of silly mistakes to start your fourth quarter. That time, Lunsford was able to get a hand up there, but he can't put points on the board. Tracy speeding through, gives it to Wilson. Ball gets loose. Here's David Johnston inside. And that is going to be an incomplete shot on the way there from Jaquez Dickerson. And right now, Jones is just trying to tell his team to settle down, calm down a bit here, and let's focus on playing this game of basketball. Dickerson up at the line. Pair of free throws coming on the way for Dickerson. His opening shot is going to be wide. Dickerson trying to make up. Can he do it? Yes. Jaquez Dickerson puts up 1 point out of the 2 free throw shots, and that's going to be intercepted again. A lot of interceptions, but this is not the game of football we're talking about. This is some great fast-paced action of boys varsity basketball on the Riverdale Raiders broadcast network. Thank you all for tuning in to tonight's presentation of high school sports. This is Nick Rush giving you the play-by-play action. And now there's going to be a timeout here called by Riverdale with 5:45 left to go in regulation, 44-26. Raiders in the lead. So we're going to take a quick break. Raiders going to talk things through, and we'll see what happens in just moments right after a word from our sponsors on the Riverdale Raiders broadcast network. We return to the Raider Rock Gym at Riverdale High School with 5:45 left to go in this boys varsity basketball contest, where the Raiders are currently on top of Gulf Coast. 44-26 is your score. Raiders continue off of their previous timeout with control. Daniel Malivert spikes it low to Johnston. Johnston sends up to Tracy on the left key. Ball is going to be fumbled. And here are the Sharks with offensive control. Lunsford trying to lunge his way into the paint there, and there's going to be a foul against the Riverdale defense. And Nathan Lunsford's going to head up to the free throw line. And he can't come up with the first shot. You hear these fans in the background trying to get in the head of Lunsford as he takes these shots. And at times they do a great job of doing that as well, bringing the energy to this basketball gym. Second shot is going to be successful for Lunsford. Dickerson weaving his way around, and there's the one-hand jam coming from David Johnston. 5 minutes left to go in your game, 46-27. The Sharks are trailing the Raiders, 46-27. Now left key there to Spencer Davis. Now up the middle, it's Tracy with the dunk. Jacob Tracy with a one-hand jam. That sends his crowd into a frenzy as he's able to leap his way up and send it through the net with the slam dunk. It always gets a rise out of this crowd when they're able to do that. These basketball players out on the field, they are capable of doing amazing things. And now there's going to be a foul against the Raider defense. This is going to be Nathan Lunsford. Now there's a little bit of a stoppage at the scorer's table. A little bit of confusion with the scorekeeping of this game. The officials are going to settle this one out. We'll get back to action in a quick moment, but meanwhile, the Raiders and Sharks are going to head back to their benches. 4:36 left in your fourth quarter. 48-27 is your score. Riverdale High School has led this competition all game long. And it seems right now, Gulf Coast, they've been struggling with their passes, and it seems like they're in a little bit of a frenzy to just do whatever they can, get those points in the board, and try to decrease this lead somehow. Meanwhile, Riverdale just trying to extend their lead, and both teams seem to be in a little bit of a rush here. They need to slow down and make sure they can do what they can to pick up the W. Still a little bit of a stoppage here as the officials are going to come together at the scorer's table and settle out this conflict. Meanwhile, the Raiders are going to come out of their huddle up on the sidelines. So Raiders come out, Sharks come out. It looks like we'll be back to action in just moments here. Keep in mind when we get back to play, Lunsford's going to be at the free throw line for a pair of free shots. But meanwhile, right now, looks like we're just about to come to a conclusion on things. Players standing around, waiting for things to be figured out here. And this is going to lead to a little bit of a delay here with the scorekeeping. So we'll have a little bit of a discussion. Some of the Riverdale coaches are going to get involved and talk things out with the officials here during this mass confusion we have. Fans sitting around patiently awaiting for this one to get back going. And not much to say about this. Players talking in a little bit of a group, coming up with a bit of a game plan here. And finally, we're back and ready to go. So like I said, coming up to the line is number 33, Nathan Lunsford for the Sharks. 48-29, Raiders advantage. Lunsford's shot is going to be through. Lunsford now awaits the second shot. Fans banging on the bleachers here and making some noise. And Lunsford is not going to let that bother him as he goes 2 for 2 up at the line on this attempt. And it looks like now there's going to be a technical foul here against Gulf Coast. So it's going to be Lunsford up at the line again, getting some extra opportunities, and this shot is going to wobble its way out of the net. So no good this time. Here comes his second one on the way. There's still lots of confusion between coaches and officials alike. Lunsford can not convert on the second attempt.
Yeah, he did.
And players still continue to stand around as there's another stoppage. Coach Jones wants to get a word in here with the coaches and just find out what's going on, explain his case on something. But either way, there sure is a lot going on towards the end of this contest.
I hit the horn before he shot. I think Damon's thinking that he shot a free throw before, but he didn't.
You hear some of the talking around the Raider Rock gym here. 48-31. Raiders in the lead, and now you have Coach Damon Jones heading to the bench. Finally, so it looks like things are going to be cleared up here, maybe. Players are still standing around in huddles at center court as they patiently await this game to be put back into play. It's good for Gulf Coast because they have a few moments for themselves to really just take a quick break and adjust to this fast style of play as we head to your final moments of the game. All right, so the officials getting their last word in here, and it looks like we're back and ready for some more Raider basketball action. Now the officials are going to get together here and talk this whole thing out. So it looks like we have quite the delay here. We'll take a quick break, and we are going to come back when all of this conflict is settled out right after this on the Riverdale Raiders Broadcast Network. We are back on the Riverdale Raiders Broadcast Network. 48-31 is your score. Raiders advantage here with 4:36 left to go in your fourth quarter. We have everything settled out. Strangely enough, Noah Evans came up for a shot on the technical foul, but that is going to be unsuccessful. Sharks back in control. We come back to this basketball game after there was some mass confusion going on with the scorekeeping of this game. So it looks like we're going to finally have that all figured out, and we are back for more Raider basketball action. Once again on the Riverdale Raiders Broadcast Network, Nick Rush giving you the call of tonight's game, and now we're going to have some more free shots. This time it's going to be for the Raiders. as Daniel Malavert's going to step on in. He's only going to get one shot there, and he cannot convert.
Was that a foul, Joe?
And there was a foul on the play against Jaquez Dickerson. And we'll come all the way back down to the opposite end of the court. And guess who it is? None other than Nathan Lunsford back up on the line. And he's going to put a point up on the board at that time. Let me tell you this. In the past couple of minutes, we've seen Lunsford up there on the line so often. He's getting pretty comfortable up there, I'm sure. He's adjusting to this pressure brought on by the crowd. Doesn't seem to affect him at all, and you can put that second shot on the board. Here's Jacob Tracy across the court to Vieira. Chops it off to his left side. Fast-paced passing here for the Raiders. It ends up in Dante Quintella's hands. Up high, right key to Tracy. Tracy going to back his way up towards center court, now charging his way in full sprinter speed. And here we go, it's the Sharks with the ball, breakaway. And there's two for the Sharks. Credit coming there for Lunsford, who's been showing some great control for the Sharks. And now Lunsford's going to try to go for the three-point play as he was fouled. And there's that three-point play by Nathan Lunsford. Raiders starting to slowly crumble. They're just focused on running the time off the clock. But at this point, they just need to keep on pushing. You cannot stop playing and scoring and giving this game your hardest until that clock is down to 0-0-0. And there's another stoppage of play off of a foul. It's going to go against the Sharks. Dante Quintella coming up to the line. It's been a wild and physical second half of play. As of right now, you have 10 fouls for the Raiders, 8 for your visiting Gulf Coast Sharks, and Quintella is going to sink his opening shot. Okay. Correction, that's 12 fouls for the Raiders. And Quintella goes 2 for 2 on that attempt. Dante Quintella, he's the 5'9" sophomore guard for the Raider team. And now it's picked away again. Jacob Tracy spins, handoff to Quintella, and he has the layup. Fans are electrified now. Sharks trying to pass it around downtown, deep inside for Lunsford, who sends it through the net off of the right hand. And now there's Jacob Tracy taking a hit as he ran into the way of Noah Evans. With 3:10 left to go in your regulation, 52-38. Riverdale in control of this game all along. Jacob Tracy coming up, and he's going to take a free throw shot, which is no problems making its way into the net. And he'll make the second one as well. Raiders up by 16. Ball is fumbled. Here are the Raiders again. Dante Quintella. He flails his arms up in the air there as the ball is going to be out of the playing court. There's another blow of the whistle here. You're going to see Miguel Vieira head to the bench. Meanwhile, Daniel Malavert's going to make his way in to the game. We'll continue it off with Jacob Tracy. And there is another easy shot into the net. Going downtown is Spencer Davis, and that's going to be scooped away by Jaquez Dickerson. Dickerson to Quintella. Far side. That pass is going to bounce off of the leg of Lunsford, and that's going to be another stop in the play. It's going to be Wilson handling the ball from the sidelines over to Jacob Tracy. Tracy trying to duel his way past two defensemen. Wilson to Malivert. That's a bouncer that's going to head back into the possession of the Sharks. Lunsford, right side. He hits the floor, and that ball is going to be whistled away. Here's another penalty going against the Raiders. It's Nathan Lunsford once more. Say it with me now as he heads up to the line.
Hey, get this rebound. Secure it.
It's up in the air, and it heads back down on the floor. That's a missed shot. Lots of stoppages here in this fourth quarter of play. We had a little bit of a delay in the game earlier in the fourth due to a little bit of conflicts with the scorekeeping, so the officials and coaches got that all settled out. And there's been a lot of fouls, needless to say here. That's a backhanded pass from Tracy. That was very interesting. And that's going to be stolen away by Rashid Lowe. Rebound from Lunsford's going to spin its way outside of the net. So they can't convert on that one either. It's another foul.
5, Crystal.
My goodness, it's Lunsford again up for 2 shots. 2:03 left in your game. 56-38 is your score. It's been Riverdale's ball game all night. Fans giving a round of applause to Jaquez Dickerson as he heads to the benches. Which may be the last time of this ball game, just maybe. Fans have really appreciated the way he played today, and it looks like he fouled out. So Lunsford can make the first shot, but can't make the next one. So you have Jaquez Dickerson fouling out there as he says goodbye in this game. One heck of a game it's been. This is going to be picked away by the Raiders. 1:47 to play. Jacob Tracy. He's going to float it over to Vieira. It's picked away. And finally, you're going to see Caden Frost get his way as he puts it through the basket. Jacob Tracy spins around. He's going to fake out his defenseman. And that was Rashid Lowe's defenseman on the play, and eventually Lowe is going to foul him. So stepping up to the line once more is Jacob Tracy with 90 seconds left in this game. Raiders have a 15-point advantage. He can make it 16 as Tracy sinks his first shot of the pair of attempts. Now a 17-point lead as Tracy is able to put in 2 points. Sharks going deep there by Caden Frost, and that is going to be way too underthrown. Cross feed, Rashid Lowe trying to air it out, and he's not going to make that one anywhere close either. Here's Miguel Vieira, breakaway for the Raiders. Vieira barely keeps it in. Wilson left corner, high up on the left key to Quintella. Quintella down low to Wilson with 1 minute left to play. Wilson takes matters into his own hands, but can't seal the deal there. And it's going to be relayed outside to Quintella on the left key, and there's your foul against the Sharks defense with 51.5 left to play. Coming up this time to shoot is Dante Quintella. That one bounces off the backboards and will not make its way through. The second one will not work out either for Quintella. It's aired out from the right corner and stolen by Jacob Tracy. Doing whatever he can to keep the ball alive, waste some time off the clock, and there's Daniel Malivert putting the ball in with the right hand as he comes down. And now Malivert's going to get the extra shot here. Dribbles the ball, throws it, and that's going to be no good. Here are the Sharks. Caden Frost again going from downtown, somehow kept in. Frost again making an appearance, throwing it to the left corner, and there's a long distance shot from Spencer Davis. 20 seconds left to play. Quintella is going to take a hit there. He collided with Lunsford. And Quintella is going to be helped up there by some of his teammates. You can see Lunsford was trying to reach out there and foul Quintella. It didn't work out at first, but he's able to make it the second time around, but that will not help as Quintella is up. All the Raiders have to do at this point is finish this game, run the time off the clock, call it a night. Great win here against their district rivals.
Is this a district game?
Quintella's first shot is going to be too forced. But the second one will be just all right. 13 seconds left. It's Delaney, low on the corner to Frost. Frost opposite end. 3-point shot is up and through from Kevin Heben. And now there's some physicality going on, but it does not matter. This ball game is over, and your Riverdale Raiders boys varsity basketball team defeats the division rival Gulf Coast Sharks by a 61-47 final score. What a game it's been. Raiders just kept the gas pedal down this entire time. And you know it came out with some big results. 61-47 as they defeat the Gulf Coast Sharks for their first district win of the season. That's going to bounce them up overall to a 1-3 record on the season when it comes to playing against the district rivals. Raiders bounce up to 8-9 overall on the season. Gulf Coast will drop down to 9-10 on the season and 1-3 when playing against the district foes. That's going to do it for tonight's game. We thank you all for listening in to this presentation of high school basketball on the Riverdale Raiders Broadcast Network. Once again, your final score, 61-47. The Riverdale Raiders top the Gulf Coast Sharks. Thank you all for listening in, and we will see you for our next contest, which is going to be Thursday evening, 7:30 p.m., when the Raiders take on the South Fort Myers Wolfpack and boys varsity basketball action. So be sure to join us then. But for now, that's going to do it. Live from the Raider Rock Gym on the campus of Riverdale High School in Fort Myers, Florida, this is Nick Rush signing out, saying so long.